Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Susan Lynn. I'm a psychic and a medium, and today we're going to be talking politics. And I've got one of my really good friends and amazing astrologer with me, Karen from littlebluelotus.org. That is her website. Little Blue Lotus Astrology is her YouTube channel. She's a crowd favorite. She's been on quite a bit. Today we're going to talk about the lunar eclipse, which I believe is happening this Friday. Now, we're not going to blow your mind with a bunch of lunar eclipse astrology jargon. We're going to help you understand what this means for 45. What does it mean for the United States? And then, if you'll stick around, you're going to get extra bonus points because we're going to tell you what it means for you. And believe me, it's more important. What it means to you is actually more important than what it means for them. And we're going to cover all of this. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you, Karen?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm happy to be here. I'm always happy to be here, Susan. Yes.
Yay. Thank you. I'm
Yes.
happy you're here. I'm always happy you're here. And there's these pesky eclipses. We were saying just before we started recording, she says, I just realized it's the eclipse is why I feel this way. We're not going over the edge. It just feels like we're going over the edge. That's why it's
Yeah.
important for you guys to watch to the end of this video so you get some tips and tricks about how this can affect you and your life, because I know a lot of us are empathic and we just feel all of this energy, and it's mostly the eclipse, which is happening. Some of you will feel it more than others. But
Mm.
help us out, Karen. How is this going to impact either the United States or the F bomb 45?
Okay. Well, I've been seeing other psychics talking about Donald Trump in March and April. And so I thought, all right, let's just take a look and see what's happening with him with the eclipse. And I was like, oh, baby, there's some big stuff going on in his charts, things that we're already seeing. But some major health issues,
Mm.
possibility of an assassination attempt,
Mm.
um, and just just major changes, major changes. So the eclipse is putting a lot of pressure on his chart when it comes to his authority. His authority as the president of the United States, as is just his own authority over himself. How much control does he have over himself, right? And so
Mm.
we've been seeing this since January, but it's getting more and more intense as we're moving towards the eclipse point, which is Friday. So the lunar energies has a lot to do with the public, and his 10th house is where his sun is, and his north node and the Uranus is it. So the lunar eclipse putting a lot of pressure on that area of the chart is like, yeah, he's really not the president. Some people call him the co-president, and I think even that's a stretch,
It's a stretch.
right? We've seen the decline. We've seen him, you know, putting up with things that he would have never put up with before, like, Musk in the Oval Office with his child smearing boogers on the desk. Uh, I found it interesting that I read an article where he has replaced the desk. Did you
Oh,
know
right.
he
I heard
replaced the
about
desk?
that.
Yeah, he was like, I'm not touching that desk. It's gone. So he's replacing the desk. But anyway, I digress. But he just sat there very meek
He
and very
did.
quiet during that. So again, we see this decline of authority. He doesn't have the authority, and now more and more people are seeing that. The whole purpose of eclipses is to uncover something for us to see that we really didn't see before.
Oh, wow.
So this eclipse is starting to uncover that, this isn't the guy that we thought he was. And when I mean I mean, the people that voted for him. It's certainly not us.
Mm.
Um, and it's putting pressure on the moon in his chart, which is at the bottom of his chart in the fourth house of his home, his family. And the moon in Sagittarius is a moon that has a lot to do with expansion and dealings with foreign cultures and foreigners. And so there's this pressure from the eclipse pushing on that end of his chart as well as the top end of the authority. So he's thinking he can bluff his way through throwing tariffs here and throwing tariffs there, and people are pushing back. Foreign nations are pushing back. They're coming up with alternative plans. You know what? We don't need you. We're going to do this. So we're seeing all that unfolding. We're seeing all that unfolding, but it's very intense right now because the eclipse is bringing all this up to the surface for us to see. He's also got, okay, this is interesting to me. The planet Saturn in the sky, which is often called the Lord of Karma or the Master Teacher, is also sitting right opposite the lunar eclipse. So we've got the Lord of Karma pulling energy from that lunar eclipse, which is pushing against his chart in these really critical points. So as you have been mentioning for a few months about the Ides of March, I saw that Saturn sitting there and I thought, oh man,
Whoops.
in his chart, it's activating the moon at the bottom of the chart, but his moon is also right next to the south node. We've talked about the nodes before. The south node are all about past life patterns. So whatever is happening now, and maybe even the possible assassination attempt, these are all things that have happened to him before that he was supposed to learn from, he was supposed to evolve from. So there's a
We
feeling
didn't.
of heaviness, fatedness, destiny that you were picking up months ago when you kept talking about the Ides of March, the Ides of March. I thought, wow, this is totally the Ides of March. This is totally the
Wow.
Ides of March. And if you and Dabney had, I know you talked about his chart along with Julius Caesar, so that maybe he was
I
there.
was just I was just gonna
Like
say that.
maybe that's the
So
pattern that's repeating.
yes, and last year the guides kept saying, at two, Brutus, you too, Brutus, which is
Mhm,
exactly what Caesar said when he got stabbed by his good friend. And I was going to name my last video Betrayal, and I didn't. And I wish
mhm,
I had, because that's what I did talk about it in the last video. But
mhm,
yeah, so that is fascinating that it's the South Node, which is all our past lives, our past karma.
mhm,
And here it is, the Lord of Karma stacking up against this
mhm.
eclipse. And in the middle of that is the Ides of March, which I think is the 15th or
Right.
something.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the 14th or 15th. The eclipse is the 14th. So we're
Yes.
right there.
All together. Now, but I want to say something because I've done so many videos with you that I know this. Eclipse energy it's active for a long time. I mean, the eclipse energy can go for how many months?
Okay, it can go for up to 6 months. And this is a technical thing, but the Mars in the sky, the transiting Mars, when it travels to a point that activates that eclipse point again, then we'll have a reoccurrence of the eclipse energy. So that's something that your friendly neighborhood astrologer can watch for you. If you're being affected by the eclipse,
In
watch and
your
see
own
what
life.
Mars is doing. Now, maybe Mars isn't going to do anything in that
Right,
six
right.
month period, but if it
What I
does,
want to know is when is this going to activate him again? That's like getting hit with the taser again.
it's totally like getting hit with a taser again. Uh, mm,
My
I
God.
think it might be outside. I think it might be outside the
The
six
six
month
months.
point.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but what that means to me is if the 6 months doesn't take him out, if this lunar eclipse in the 6 months doesn't take him out, I think that will the second taser, I think, is still going to take him out. Um,
Okay.
but I did say that I thought that I said, even if, so the weird thing that I don't understand, and maybe you can help me understand this,
Mhm.
and it's just energy wise, I feel like he's gaining energy right now. What I feel like is like a puffer fish. It's not real. It's like
Okay.
you puff yourself up to be bigger
Mhm.
so that predators don't eat you. It feels like that he's puffing himself up right now, but I think people
Right.
will believe it. I think people are going to be like, wow, look at him, which is probably going to make
Mhm.
all of us want to throw up. um but so And the end result is it doesn't work, right? Like, so
Right.
if he doesn't get dealt with in this month, he has to deal with this
And it
energy
starts to,
dogging him for 6 months.
yeah, right, right. Yeah, I mean, I read this morning, I didn't read the article, but I read this morning that he's slapping a 50% tariff on Canada. Now we've gone up to 50%. So that whole pufferfish simile is very apt.
Oh,
And the
yeah.
pufferfish can't keep up, they can't keep that up. That's only
Yeah,
temporary.
right. And that's what he keeps doing. He puffs up and then he
Mhm.
shrinks back down and then he
Mhm.
puffs up again. And I think
Right.
people have just caught on to him. And I think Canada's like, we don't even care anymore. Like,
Yeah.
we don't care that you're putting it on and taking it off. Ours are going to stay on, right? We have,
Ours are
I
going to
think
stay on
Canada is dealing with us in the most adult
mature. Yeah.
parent way.
Mhm.
Like, you're psychotic. I'm
Mhm.
not going to be dealing with that. Here's
Mhm.
our, pushback, and it will remain regardless of your craziness.
Right.
And so it's sustained. There, ours is he puffs up and comes down. Theirs is sustained.
Right.
Um, and I think that this is not. It's I don't know. Go ahead. You continue with your telling us how Trump's this is going to affect
Okay.
Trump.
Okay. So the eclipse is happening for him. There's a couple other things going on in his chart. The transiting Chiron is putting a lot of pressure on his Saturn, Venus. Chiron, of course, is the wounded healer. When we have a Chiron aspect going on, it's going to bring wounds up. And they can be psychic wounds, emotional wounds, physical wounds. So again, another indication of declining health
Mhm.
because the Chiron is aspecting the Saturn, the Lord of Karma, in his chart, next to the Venus. So even though it seems like he might be getting a lot of money from the grifts that he's doing, I mean, I read that he's charging businessmen $1 million to sit in a small group with him, and one-on-one will cost you 5 million. So he's getting all his money back. But this Saturn, I'm sorry, the Chiron is going to be like, yeah, remember when you did this before and what happened? Boom. So that's going on. And also the planet Uranus in the sky is connected to the eclipse. It's connected to the eclipse in a real positive way, where the thing that's being revealed to us is giving us a chance to change something for the better. And it's sort of a sudden, unexpected, like, which will be hard. I'll be really interested to see how unexpected this reveal is going to be, since so many of us listen to people like you who are, foretelling the future for us and laying down the groundwork for what's going to be happening. But there's something big that's about to happen that's very unexpected, and it hits him at the very top of his chart, which is for all of us, it's our destiny and it's our public life. And for him, especially because he's the president and he's been in the public eye since he's been a young man. That's everything for him. I mean, he is his public life, basically. So the Uranus is going to blow something up. And it could be the assassination attempt because that particular Uranus at the top of his chart is pushing very hard on the Mars that he was born with on his rising sign, which is the body. You take the energy of Uranus and the energy of Mars together, whether you're a private citizen or not, and that is an accident symbol of some kind. That is something you have to be very careful about. I warn my clients, hey, you've got this aspect for a few days. It only lasts for a few days, but watch where you're walking.
Oh, you've done
Uh,
it for me. And I found myself
yeah.
remembering what you told me while I was doing the thing. And I was like, oh,
Oops,
I wish I would have listened to her.
I
It's
was
too
supposed to
late. I'm
stay
in the
home
middle of it.
today.
But it was like literally, I could hear her words, and I'm like, oh my God, this is literally happening to me right now?
Yeah,
So interesting. Mars and Uranus. Uranus is like sudden, unexpected, like
abrupt,
accidents,
radical.
stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
Mars
And
rules
Mars is a
deliver
trigger as well.
cars, metal,
Cars, metal, weapons.
weapons, right?
Yeah, weapons. Mars is a gun. Mars is a gun thing. Mars is a rifle thing. Mars is a bullet thing. And it's right on his rising sign, which for all of us is our body. The first house is the body. The rising sign is even specifically the head.
That's what I kept getting, the head.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like maybe a stroke
right.
kind of situation that
The
would
head,
not.
the face. Yeah.
Right, right. Wow. Yeah, that's very interesting.
So he slid through a lot of stuff before,
Yes.
slimy little snake that he is. So I don't know if he's going to slide through this one, but
I don't think so. I
I
just don't
I
know if
think
it's going to happen this month. I mean, he has a couple of months to for
right,
this energy to sort of hunt him down, so to speak. And
right,
is there a theory? I've heard it said yes, and I've heard it said no, but I understand that he was born during an eclipse.
right. Yeah. So eclipses would mean something really particularly powerful for that person. Pivotal events in that person's life would happen during an eclipse.
And then
Yeah.
you have Uranus. You guys don't mess with Uranus. My God,
Don't
Uranus
mess
and
with Uranus.
Mars. Holy
Hmm.
cow.
Yeah.
Some people say you're born on an eclipse, you die on an eclipse. I don't know that that's, I don't know how
That's a
much.
traditional kind of, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, and to go back to something that you've been saying for a couple of months, and I've been saying for a couple of months, is that I think he had to survive this long because he was he was a pivotal person for us to learn what we needed to learn as a country.
Yeah,
For him to have lost the election, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry to say this, but for him to have lost the election would have taken us much longer to learn what we had to learn. And time has sped up, everybody. We all know that time has sped up. It's not a theory, it's real.
it's real.
All of these outer planets changing signs, which is almost historic. Um, and just the fact that, our lessons are being learned faster because not that we're running out of time, but it is sort of like we're running out of time. We're supposed to be reaching another level, and that thread is like we don't have that much longer to go.
It's almost like they're compressing it, right?
Yeah,
So
they're
it's like
compressing it.
when you take that class and they say, well, you can take it in 2 months or 6 months, and you do
Right.
the 2 months and you're like, you're just moving through it so
Sure.
quickly. And
Sure.
I agree with you. He's a great teacher. And no one would have, honestly and truly, who could have done this to our country? Who could have found all the loopholes? Who could have found all the hidden openings that we didn't know were there? But him.
He has every bad thing that this country has ever done or said or produced is in this man.
Yes,
It's
true.
all in his man.
And how is that connected? So the Chiron, I don't know if you guys have watched my videos on the wound of the United States, because I learned all this from Karen.
Mhm.
Um, but so we have a wound, right? The country was founded on, violence and taking over people and enslaving people and all these things.
Yeah.
So that's our wound. And
Mhm.
it's interesting that his wounded healer, his Chiron is activated. Is the United States still going through its wounded
Yes.
healer Chiron return?
Yes.
The United States is like our wound. It's again, it's like when you have that splinter and you're like, oh well, forget it. It's down in there
It'll
now.
work
But
its
like
way
a
out.
week
Yeah.
later, it's coming up through your skin, and you're like, what in the heck, right? This is our wound making its way to the surface. And the guy who's screwing us, his wound, his Chiron is also making its way to the surface. I think
Right.
there's just no coincidences here. All of these
No.
things make sense.
Divine
Think,
timing.
think about nature, how beautiful nature is, how
Mhm.
it's just orchestrated, right? Like the leaves are
Mhm.
so beautiful, the butterflies, the rivers.
Mhm.
This is divinely oriented, guided to come together so that
Right.
we can crash Uranus, Mars, and break it all down and then build it with love and compassion at the
Mhm.
heart of it instead of greed and malice at the heart of
Right,
our country.
right, right. Innovation, inclusion, all those wonderful things. Well, the United States going through its Chiron return, Chiron in the sky will finally move out of Aries, which is where it's been for a number of years now, which is where the United States Chiron is. Will move out of Aries into Taurus in early summer of 2026. That's not
26.
that long. That's not that far away, right? Just in
Trying to give us
time for
hope.
the 2026 elections.
Yeah. Is that going to help us? Chiron and Taurus? I mean,
I think it
Taurus
will
is the
help us.
land, right? I mean, what
Mhm.
does Taurus represent?
Well, Taurus for us is in the United States chart, Taurus is the sixth house of the work of the destiny, the work of the 10th house, which is our destiny and our public persona, is the sixth house. And that's where Taurus is in the United States chart. So I think that's us rolling up our sleeves and getting to work,
Putting our democracy back together,
putting our democracy
the
back together
destiny.
again. He's Humpty Dumpty, not us. They couldn't put Humpty Dumpty back together again, but we're going to be put back together again.
I
I,
love
I
that. He's Humpty
100% believe it.
Dumpty, not us. I love that. He's going to fall apart and break apart. We are not. We're
Yeah.
resilient.
Yeah, we are resilient. So the eclipse for the United States is hitting us right on the Neptune in our ninth house. Neptune in the ninth house for the United States. Ninth house is dealings with foreign countries and foreign cultures. And so Neptune there, and it's what we call intercepted, which means it's kind of sandwiched and closed off in the United States chart. So this is even more hidden kinds of energy. So it's interesting to me that the eclipse in the Neptune for the United States chart, and we're hearing things about Europe having meetings without us, having decisions making that concern us without us, NATO having meetings without us. All of those. That's the eclipse on our Neptune, I believe, because Neptune disguises things. Neptune is a cloak of invisibility, kind of. So the eclipse hitting the country there is like, okay, you know what? We're just going to have a lot of deals going on and agreements going on that don't include you because you're crazy. We can't trust you, and we already see the direction you're going, and we can't go there. So
And what's interesting is the United States is meeting with Russia without Ukraine about Ukraine. So it's actually
exactly,
working both ways.
both ways,
We're
exactly,
not paying attention to them, they're not paying attention to us.
right.
And that lasts for how long?
Well, the eclipse
Oh, six
energy,
months.
yeah, right,
So
right.
it could
So
last
it
for
could
six
last for
months.
another 6 months, right?
It could, or sporadically pop up and go away. Okay.
Right, right. Now, the other interesting thing, remember we talked about the Lord of Karma with the eclipse. In the United States chart, it is opposing the Neptune, which means it's on one end of the chart and the Neptune is on the other end. It's like a teeter-totter where you're pulling on both ends of this teeter-totter. For a person or a country to have a person or a country to have Saturn oppose Neptune, that is not quite, but almost the dark night of the soul. That is feelings of uncertainty and doubt. And what am I doing here? And who am I anyway? So the country is going through that. We see that. And you add the eclipse energy, so it's very intense right now. People don't want to get out of bed. People are frightened. People are it's hard to get people angry. I'm surprised of the amount of protests we have with this kind of energy where it's feeling of hopelessness.
Oh, thank you for saying that because I think a lot of people are upset saying, why aren't more
Mhm.
people in the streets, right? But
Mhm.
the energy just feels like you're zapped, like you
Yeah, it's
just
just
don't
like a
have
wet
any
blanket.
energy.
Yeah,
Yeah, like somebody's drained all your energy out, you know?
that's exactly what happens when you've got a Saturn Neptune thing going on. It's
Oh,
like
see
there's a
you
leak.
guys. It's like your energy is leaking. See you guys, get a reading. Little Blue Lotus Astrology, littlebluelotus.org. is her
Yeah.
website. But yeah, getting a reading can be a big deal. It can really help you manage and understand why you're going through this stuff. But hopefully it helps you understand why the United States is going through this stuff. So now when we look at people and we go, wow, a lot of people are out protesting, but shouldn't more be out, or are they
Mhm.
asleep? And in reality, they're just like completely low energy.
Yeah, they're tired. We're all tired. We're tired of
We're all
fighting.
tired.
We're very tired. And so, that makes the people that are getting out there even more heroic, I think.
That's true. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah,
That is so
I think
true.
they're just more heroic. So the cool thing about this is that Saturn is moving quickly now. Saturn in the sky is moving quickly through Pisces. It's been dragging its feet for a while. It's moving quickly, and so we see that the last week in May, it moves out of Pisces into Aries. It'll move back into Pisces for a few months, toward the end of the year, but when it moves out of Pisces into Aries, and this isn't really part of the eclipse, but it's going to be aspecting the United States chart in a much healthier kind of way. It's sitting at the very bottom of the chart. When you've got Saturn sitting at the bottom of the chart, either personally or collectively, this is the foundation of the life or the country's life. Saturn is like, okay, there's loss involved, but there's space. There's new space with the loss involved. What are we going to do with the space? And Saturn is all about building things on a firm foundation. What we do with the Saturn aspect will last for 25 to 30 years. So, this rebuilding that's going to be happening as we move into the summertime, no matter what's going on in Washington, D.C., and maybe something is happening that's going to give us the ability to do some rebuilding, is shown in the chart with that Saturn at the bottom of the chart.
Something has to go so you can make space for new. You can make
Right,
space for the
right,
new plans or the new person, even.
right. So painfully enough, even though, they're gutting
Everything,
infrastructure.
everything. They're gutting everything.
Yeah, Saturn is structure. And so the Neptune and the Saturn that we talked about a minute ago, that, Neptune tends to like disappear things. But then the Saturn coming out of Pisces and into Aries is like, okay, now we're through with that weird, deceitful, lying, can't see clearly energy. But now Saturn in Aries is like, okay, now what are you going to do with what's left?
Because Aries is action,
Aries is all about action. Aries is like,
action.
I don't want to sit here anymore. Let's
No.
get up and
And
do something.
so does Saturn feel not great in Aries since Saturn is contraction or
Saturn is not comfortable in Aries, right, right. But again, as we talked about before, there's different levels of the energy. So yeah, the medium energy of the level, a level of energy for Saturn in Aries is like, I can't get anywhere. And every time Aries tries to go ahead, Saturn is pulling you back. It's like trying to drive with your foot on the brake.
right, right, right. But
But
but Saturn's foot on the brake is that, hey, 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 this isn't done right. You're trying to rush
yes,
ahead, which is very Aries.
yes.
You're trying to rush ahead. We're not going to
Hmm.
let you. You need to come back here and do this right. Just like when a
Right,
kid, you say,
exactly.
load the dishwasher and they leave 5 things on the counter. You're like, this is not right.
Yeah, you didn't
Come
finish that.
back and do it again.
Mhm.
So your analogy of foot on the brake is really good too, because we're going to go forward and then
Mhm.
stop and then go forward and then
Mhm.
stop. It may not be that obvious to you guys. I
Mhm.
think honestly, what we're going to notice is forward movement. I mean, at this point, any forward movement would be welcome
Mhm.
by
Right,
us, right? So I
right,
don't know that we're going to, and I think most of us would agree that we're happy to have whatever's not done to go back and correct it, right?
right.
Like,
We don't
I
want to
think,
make the same mistakes.
I don't think this is a bad thing, to be honest,
Right, right. So
because I think you were trying to say that.
on a higher level, Aries is justice. Aries is fighting for the underdog. And Saturn is karma. So it's like fighting for the underdog, and it's like, all right, you guys have to pay for what you've been doing. Yeah,
That's fantastic.
so we can push for, the higher vibration of the Saturn and Aries.
When does that happen again? May, you
That
said?
happens the last week in May.
Hallelujah, hallelujah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, what else am I seeing for the United States chart? Oh, uh, Uranus moving into Gemini in July. The chart of the United States was born with Uranus and Gemini. So we're going to have our Uranus return. And Uranus and Gemini, it's only going to be in 0 degrees to 1 degree Gemini. The United States chart is 8 degrees, but I think we're going to feel it. I'm sorry, Uranus is explosions and earthquakes, maybe not literally, but at least symbolically. Like you've been talking about, well, like the reveal, like maybe the reveal of the steal of the election, or maybe that's when Trump gets removed, or maybe that's when Trump is already gone and Vance gets removed. But it's something
I like
radical,
that.
yeah,
I feel that. Yep. But
radical,
Gemini means
unexpected.
what? Tell me about Gemini.
Okay, well, Gemini is communication and how we communicate with other people as well as with ourselves. And so it has to do with the media. So I'm wondering, with Uranus touching Uranus again in Gemini, and it's almost in the seventh house for the United States, which is our partners.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Evidence. I've
Uranus and
always,
Gemini has a lot to do with war. Do you think there's a threat of war with that aspect
oh,
coming?
I think there's a threat. I mean, I think last year, and I hate now because I said all these things last year with no emotion. And now I'm like living it and I want to like crawl under the bed. But last year the guide said there could be and this makes so much sense now that you're saying it, because they said something blows up really quickly, which is
Uh-huh.
very Uranian,
Uh-huh.
like a war type thing. It blows up like an explosion. And
Uh-huh.
then I think everybody's so shocked by it that nothing else is done. Like everybody is shocked into compliance or into silence. You know what I mean? Like two
Okay.
kids playing with a gun. The gun goes off and shoots off into the trees, and they're both looking at each other like it
What
was
just
loaded.
happened? Yeah.
It was
Wow.
loaded. You know,
Yeah.
that's the kind of the energy that I'm getting. And then when you were talking about, I don't know what you were talking about, but we were talking about accidents. We were talking about
Right.
Mars.
Mars and
Um,
Uranus.
Metal, something to the head,
Uh-huh.
to the
Okay.
top of the head. For some
Oh.
reason, it could be like an accident. Something
Uh-huh.
falls and hits him here, which is his crown chakra, which is
Right.
kind of
Yeah.
poetic. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, so I do think that, but I'm also being prompted to talk about Gemini being the twins.
The twins, right.
Being like, I'm like this, but I'm like this. No, but I'm like
Hmm.
this. No, but I'm like this. So there's also this twin energy
Yeah.
also prevalent. Like either we said we were going to do this, but we did this, or,
Hmm.
and the country who said it doesn't understand, like they thought it's all's fair within love and war is what I just heard,
Hmm.
right? But the rest of us are like, wait a minute, that's not what you said, and we
Right.
want to hold them to account. Maybe this is
Right.
even our own country we want to hold to account. But yeah, I think that something big is brewing, and the energy has to go somewhere. It's just
Right.
building, and it's like almost
Building.
like a headache that is building
Hmm.
and building and building, and then you get the migraine,
Hmm.
then boom, it explodes. Like blowing up a balloon, back to the
Right.
pufferfish, blowing up the balloon too much, and then it pops.
Right. But here's the thing with that Uranus in 0 degrees or 1 degree Gemini closing in on our Uranus. The same time it's doing that, that transiting Saturn that we just talked about is in 0 degrees, 1 degree Aries. So that's a nice flow of energy between Saturn, which grounds things and solves things, and the Uranus, which is causing the explosion. So it's like something pops, like some surprising thing, like either removing the administration or an act of war or something that could be seen as an act of war. But then the Saturn in Aries is like, okay, no, 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 no. We're gonna clean this mess up.
Right. Right. It's the energy I saw, like, oh, somebody pushed the button or somebody pulled the
Mhm.
trigger or, you know what I mean? And then
Right.
everybody's shocked. Everybody is
Mhm.
shocked. But the enormity of the potential of what happened brings us all to our senses, brings
Right.
us cold water over us. And we're all like,
Mhm.
no, we don't want this. Like
Right.
all of us, because there is this rhetoric of Canada saying, I'm going to, do more to you, and Trump saying, no, I'm going to do more to you. And there can be this, and I don't know if that's in the chart, but there can be this energy of one-upmanship. And then it
Hmm.
becomes, again, the puffer fish, right? And then I think
Hmm.
at some point it just breaks. It just breaks, and everybody comes to their senses.
Right. Like, yeah, we never thought that would happen. And then we start looking around, well, whose fault was that? Oh, well, that department was gutted. Well, that person wasn't there at their job that day. It's just, oh, well, this should have been repaired, but nobody took care of it. It's just
Which
so,
is our lessons, right? Because the end result, you guys, is that Americans are going to be able to say, as with their full chests, as they say, as the kids say, they want Social Security, that they
yeah.
want national parks, that they want disability, Medicaid, Medicare, maybe even universal health care. This,
Hmm.
because we're losing it, gives us an opportunity to really say, no, wait, I really want it. And I'm
Hmm.
really ready to get out there and fight for it. It's not like they're going to take these things away and Americans are just going to roll over. We just never had it taken away before. We don't know what it's like to have these very entrenched, you know,
Yeah.
things that we've always
That we
had. They've never
relied
been
on.
taken
Yeah.
away. And now they are. And now we get an opportunity to say, not only do we want it so bad, we're going to take it all the way to the next step of universal health care. Because that's what
Yes.
I see happening. Maybe
Yes.
not in 26, but believe me, this healthcare thing, we are not the country to let people die on the streets. I know people are dying. You guys, please don't get in my comments.
Hmm.
I'm just saying we're not India. If you
Right.
think we're India, you've never been to India. Okay, we're not
Right.
some of these other countries yet. And we don't want to be that. And we're not going to allow our country to be that because we're not monsters.
Right. Right. I got this picture when you were just talking about, how people fall asleep while they're watching TV and the TV's on and somebody walks through and turns the TV off and I was watching that. I was watching that. So it's like, yeah, we start losing the things that we've taken for granted. And it's like, no, no,
Yeah,
no, 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 no. I was watching that.
yeah.
Turn that back on. Yeah, but I think, yeah, there's gonna be repairs. There's gonna be restructuring. Yeah,
Which is Saturn, right? Go back and fix it. You didn't do it right.
yeah.
You have to do it right. You can't go play until you finish your homework.
Well, yeah, another term that people like to call Saturn is the master teacher.
A master teacher.
The master teacher.
I
And they're
thought you were
always the
gonna.
hard lessons. They're not recess. It's
No,
not
it's not.
lunch.
It's the
Yeah,
foundation. It's the
yeah.
foundation of your life, the foundation of your
Hmm.
country. It's the
Hmm.
important things. Saturn
Right,
helps you do the important things, right?
right.
Wow, that is amazing. So that's fascinating. And I think that I really feel like there's a lot of energy around what you're saying, where he could be gone, his administration could be gone. Um, I just don't know the timing of that. Honestly, I really
Mhm.
don't know the timing of it. But
Yeah.
but the energy is gaining steam on him.
Hmm.
It's not 4 years, it's not 2 years. The
Oh,
energy is,
no.
and Karen is right. Time is actually moving faster. Physicists have proven that. So he can't run fast enough to outrun this.
No, he can't run fast enough. Yeah, this Uranus happens on I think the 6th or 7th of July. So that's not
which
that far
is
away.
which is our Independence Day, which
Independence
I've
Day,
been
yeah.
getting some creepy energy around Independence
Oh,
Day,
really? Wow.
right around that
So
week.
that's the Uranus return
Third,
beginning.
fourth, fifth,
Wow.
sixth. 7th, right around July 6th. Right now, July 6th has a lot of energy around it.
Okay, well, that's it. That's the Uranus in Gemini. Whoa.
I think that's the final. I mean, it's the final nail, but it takes a little while for it to get pounded in, if that
Mhm.
makes sense, right? So,
Okay.
and I feel like it could, because it's communication. I feel like it could be that another country, because this is something a lot of us have seen, another country comes in to save the day, in the sense
Mhm.
that they bring the data and they say, here's proof that maybe allegedly Elon did this thing,
Oh, so
that did
maybe
this thing.
That's how Vance has to go. Because something happens to Trump and he's either incapacitated or unalive, and Vance is in for a couple of months, and then somebody comes in from the outside and says, "Hey, surprise, look what we found." And it's like,
And it
bye-bye,
implicates
JD.
him, and it implicates him. You know
Yes.
what I mean? He cannot stay there. And that makes a lot of sense, because the problem is, you guys, if we all just said tomorrow, if the Democrats said tomorrow, this thing has been rigged and we're gonna remove him, you've got, think about
Oh God.
all your MAGA
A real
family, friends.
civil war. Yeah.
Think about how armed they are. But if 45 goes out through an accident, yes, he's going to be a martyr, but nobody loves Vance. Nobody loves Musk. So
He's the Eddie
once
Haskell of the Republican Party, you guys.
yeah, that's
That's-
cool. And that's actually given him extra credit.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but once 45 is out of the way, they can deal with these other cretins in a more legal manner. And then
Hmm.
that ushers everybody out. And
Right.
sometime in the next month or 2 months, I want you to come back on, if you don't mind, and talk about Kamala's chart. Because I
Okay.
said in my last video, there's 40, her energy's coming back. It's almost like the sun came back out from behind the clouds and now it's
Hmm.
shining on us. That I
Right.
feel it. I'm not saying that she's going to be president. I'm saying there's like a 40% chance that, if it goes down like this, and this is a timeline that makes sense to me, um,
Hmm.
that then, if you prove that this was all rigged, then the hello, take the
Yeah.
trophy and give it to the person who won it.
That's how it's supposed to work.
That's how it's supposed to work. But I don't know, because when she lost, or it was stolen from her, her energy went through some things. Like,
Yeah.
her energy
Yeah.
went through some things. And I don't know. I just don't know if it's still her
Right.
destiny. I feel like it is,
She might not
but
want to take it.
she might not want to take it. But her destiny was to rule during a divided country. And I'm telling you,
Yeah.
even if we do it this way, which would be the best way possible would be something falls on his head, maybe dropped by, I'm not even going to go there, but anyway. Um, and then, he's out, Vance is in. Oops, here comes a country with all the data. By
Yeah.
this time, the MAGAs are sick and tired of losing
Yeah.
everything they've got. So they're like, hey, we don't like that guy. They got their pitchforks out in the street. So then
Hmm.
it all makes it easy for us to say, okay, this was an aberration. Just pretend like
Hmm.
this never happened. The last 6 months, pretend like it didn't happen. Let's just
Hmm.
make blank pages in the history book and we'll just go on, right? Like,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? And then put her back in power. I still don't think it's going to be a beautiful paradise, because this country is broken now. I mean, literally.
No, no.
Do you
And
want the house that
the
everybody
damage
ransacked?
yeah, the damage they're doing is going to take a long time to
It's
fix.
going to take a long time. And even internationally, even if
Hmm.
we put her back in, I wouldn't blame Europe or the EU or NATO saying, I don't know, America, you
Yeah.
guys really need to get it together over there. We can't just be having you turn on us like this.
Yeah, you guys
And
have lost your mind, so.
and I think that's going to help us really get to the way we VOTE here and the
Mhm.
whole system of it.
Mhm. Right. 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 Yeah, the old Chinese curse. May you live in interesting times. It's interesting, all
It's
right.
interesting. It's interesting. So do you want to talk about people's personal, is there anything we need
Sure,
to know about the
sure. Well, as you and I talked a few minutes before we started the video, you're Virgo, I'm a Pisces. The eclipse is in Virgo,
we
but the
should be
Saturn is
filming
in,
this from under our beds or our closets. That what she's
yes,
about to
I
say
have
is
a psychic helmet on. Yeah.
we should be in the closets going, "Are you okay, Pisces? Yes. Are you okay, Virgo? No." You know. Go ahead.
I've been feeling it, you've been feeling it. Everything is hopeless. I don't want to do anything. Leave me alone. I just want to sit and cry. So the eclipse, it's a blood eclipse. It's a blood moon eclipse. So those are very powerful. It's a total lunar eclipse. It's a pretty powerful eclipse. And then you throw in these other planets like Saturn, and it's like I've had enough of Saturn. Haven't we all had enough of Saturn?
I have.
Oh man. And this is supposed to be about releasing more stuff. And I'm like, how much more do we need to release? Are you kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? But it's unpeeling more things for us to release. Virgo is about control. Pisces is about surrender. What
Mm.
are we controlling and what are we surrendering to? Pisces, the low Pisces is going to surrender to her moods, her mood swings, her feeling sorry for herself, her feeling like she's a martyr or a victim. But and Virgo is all about control of everything, Um, the grocery list, how the kitchen is laid out, everything. So we're
Ah,
supposed to figure out what it is right now. What is ready for us to let go of right now? The problem is that time has speeded up, as we've said. And so there are things that we're supposed to let go of that we might not be ready to let go of.
no, we're not ready. I'm going to tell you right now. When you said, "What are
Yeah.
we supposed to?" We don't know. Um, to this morning, I was walking the dog. The guides were showing me my fingers gripping, and I said, I'm not holding on to anything." And then they showed me my fingers bleeding. You are holding on. I'm like,
You are holding
I'm
on
gonna
really.
just go in my house and open the front door, and
Hmm.
I'm gonna just throw things into the yard until the goddess or the god of whatever that is like but a sacrifice stuff into the front yard like it's a volcano.
Right. And then somebody will say, okay, that's enough. That's enough.
That's right. Or the police will come and they'll say, "That's enough, lady.
Yeah,
What are
hey,
you doing?"
lady. Hey, lady. What are you doing? So this is again, this has got Uranus involved for us as well. So there's something that's going to happen in
Mm.
our lives that are going to be unexpected and freeing. If we can somehow manage to put our perception to say, okay, I'm supposed to get rid of something. I'm not sure what it is. The universe is going to give us an opportunity to see clearly, oh, I'm supposed to get rid of that. Dig that out of the closet and say, I'm never going to the Academy Awards. I'm never going to wear this. So this has got to go. But whatever it is, that it will become clear that that's the thing we're clinging on to, and that's the thing we have to surrender to, the higher powers.
Just like the volcano, you guys, I'm just those old movies where they sacrifice the virgin. Okay. But
Mm-hmm.
you could also have to sacrifice a habit. It
Mm-hmm.
can be physical, like a person,
Right.
or a clothes, or but it can also be a
And
habit,
habit and attitude.
an attitude,
Yeah.
something that's not serving you, right?
Right.
What is not
Something,
serving you?
right. What is something
And
that's keeping you back?
that also lingers for us for 6 months. Oh, I just got it. We'll go to the White House and toss him out. That's it. Problem
He's
solved.
the sacrificed.
He's the sacrifice. That's what's been bugging me that I can't get rid of. I'll tell you that right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Solve my
Take him in
problem.
his baggy suits and toss him. Yeah.
And his little monkeys, little whatever those little his little minions, whatever they are,
Yeah,
take all them too.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Oh God, the things coming out of their mouths. So eclipses put us where we need to be, everybody. They put us where we need to be. It's going to happen to Trump. It's going to happen to the country. It's going to happen to us. Pisces is all about faith. Pisces is about surrendering, say, hey, you know better than I do. surrender to your guides, surrender to your angels, surrender to your higher power, if you're involved in a group like that, but you're surrendering to something that's bigger than us, that knows more than us, that knows how to help us better than we know how to help ourselves. So that's what this eclipse is about. But that you throw the Saturn in there, and now we have the emotions of, oh, there's fear, there's loss, there's doubt. But we've got the Uranus trine, and the Uranus is like, no, I'm going to throw something unexpected your way, and you're going to be like, oh, am I hiding in the closet and am I going to miss that? Or am I going to be coming out and saying, oh, wait a minute. That's exactly what's going to help me. That's exactly what I need to do, or that's exactly the person that I need in my life. So we have to be open. We have to come out of the closet or out from under the bed or in the bed or the pantry if we've got some good chocolate in the pantry.
Exactly. It feels like unanswered prayers. Thank God for unanswered prayers.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
something gets removed from your life, whatever happens, and you're like, you know what, in retrospect, I'm really glad that happened because blah, blah,
Hmm.
blah. Right? It
Hmm.
feels like that to me too. It's very it's as a high, like you said, it's a higher power involved here.
Hmm. Right. Right. Yeah. It's let me see. Let me see if I'm missing something that I'm supposed to say. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. One thing I'd like to just throw in, on the day before the eclipse on March 13th, the Saturn in the sky is going to be what we call conjunct the sun in the sky. So conjunct is like two things that are almost on top of each other. So there's the day before the eclipse is going to be, I think it might be really, really intense. The rest of this
Oh,
week, but definitely the 12th, 13th, and 14th, if we're having fears, if we're having anxieties, if we're having feelings of doubt and hopelessness, that the next few days are probably going to be the worst part of that. And guess what? Then it kind of fades away, gets better.
thank God.
Yeah. Yeah, we're all at the end of our tether, I think.
I think so too. And then you know what happens? You surrender. You
Right. You're like,
surrender
okay,
because
exactly.
I can't do anything. You're literally at the end of your rope and you're like, I am not in charge of this country. I am not in charge of these people. All I can do is me. All I can work on is me. And
Hmm.
that's it. And I
Right.
surrender all that, right? Because worrying isn't going to solve it. It's not going to help me. So surrender is big. It's a big, big thing.
Yeah.
Faith and surrender are the two things I think you
Yeah.
need to know to get through the
Hmm.
next week.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we'll see how everything falls out and we'll be like, oh, that wasn't so bad. In fact, if I'd known that this was coming up, I might not have been so frightened before. I might not have felt so hopeless before, but that was the test. That
Exactly.
was the test.
Test is it's going to be okay, guys. We got each other. We're going to get through this. We've been through things before. We're going to go
Yes.
through things in the future. It's going to be
Yes.
fine. It's just
Yes.
going to be a new reality or a new situation
Hmm.
and see the good in that, right? Let's see the good
Right.
in it.
Well, and you've been talking specifically about self-care for the past several months. And it's exactly what we need to be doing. We have to be ready to take up the fight when we can step out of the shadow. It's like, okay, now we can get things done. Well, we can't if we're ill. We can't if we're, so tired we can't move. And a wise man once told me that, yeah, we're here to make the world a better place. But guess what? This is the world too.
Nice. Oh,
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that. This is the world too. Love that. Thank you so much, Karen.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Wow. All right, guys. I hope this has been helpful. If you're interested in a reading, she does have some spots open. Littlebluelotus.org is her website, littlebluelotus.org. It's going to be in the description. And she's on
Mhm.
YouTube. So check her out at Little Blue Lotus Astrology on YouTube. And thanks again, Karen. We'll have to do this again
Oh, you're
soon,
welcome.
to keep us sane. And the knowledge is power, really. Knowledge is power.
Mhm, mhm. As you like to say, forewarned is forearmed.
It's true. Like, so, okay, now I know the next couple of days I'm going to feel like I'm at the end of my rope. I need to have faith, surrender to a higher source. And then I know it's going to pass. It's just going to ease up and I'm going to be okay as I get into, a few days later. So right now, what do I need to do to take care of myself? What
Right.
would be some really nice things that I could do for myself, right?
Mhm.
Super important, you guys. You can't just keep going on adrenaline and fear and anger. It doesn't work. Your body cannot handle that. It just cannot survive on that. So please, I hope you can find peace and love and self-care someplace, okay?
Yeah, even if it's just having a meal with some friends,
Yeah, anything, a walk.
a
I mean,
walk.
anything can really change your attitude, right?
Right.
So, and even if it's just for 10 minutes or an hour, I
That
binge
counts.
watch a show for 3 hours. Why not? Why
Hmm.
not escape? When your energy gets lighter, you're emitting lighter energy, and then that ends up benefiting everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Thank you so much,
absolutely.
Karen. You guys all take good care, and we'll see you next time. All right, everybody?